Good morning. The Church of the Angels is an independent, non-denominational interfaith spiritualist assembly. My name is Rev Jen Vinecourt, and I'm your facilitator today. We'll spend about an hour together with prayer and sharing and song. A few things as we get started. You may join us today with just your audio if you choose. You don't have to use the video option because it is being recorded up until the message portion so that we can help more folks connect in with us. The recording, as I said, will be stopped right before message work to respect the sacredness of working with Spirit. I also ask that the participants please keep yourselves muted for the majority of the service so that we don't have any background noise. And during the sharing portion, if you want to be called on to comment or if you have a question, please raise your hand, use the chat function, wave. Let me know so that I can see you and give you and call on you so you can unmute and ask your question or comment. The Church of the Angel attempts to be as inclusive as possible and invite all those of all opinions to join us for our services. All speakers are prompted to leave politics and any politically charged topics outside of our gatherings, and this is to promote spiritual unity. And we know, no matter what happens, that our true selves are always united in love. Want to mention also that you can make a donation through the Church of the Angels website. At that point on that page, you will also have the opportunity to make that a recurring donation if you choose. There is a separate donation page, and on that page, you will also be able to designate where you want your donation to go, whether it's a general donation or whether it's for Development Circle or Book Club or something else. So, and thank you very much to all those who have donated and helped us stay strong throughout this past year. All right, we're going to have an opening song, and then we will open with prayer.
Give me light, give me life, keep me free from
Mother, Father, Infinite Spirit, thank you for your blessings on all those joining us today to honor your work and experience your grace and wisdom. Thank you for providing all we need for us to gain a better and truer understanding of your love by the words spoken and the healing brought forth here today, so that we might lead healthy, happy, and prosperous lives. Thank you for showing us the way to accept responsibility for our lives, and we are grateful to know that you are with us always. So be it. And please join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Thank you. And now I've asked Lydia to go ahead and read our statement of principles. If you could unmute and go ahead and do that, that would be great. Thank you, Lydia.
Okay. There is one creative force of which all life is a part. This one creative force is known by many names and manifestations. We recognize and honor the many names and manifestations of the one creative force, the source of all creation, one in God. The energy of life everywhere is continuous. All consciousness is continuous. Communication is continuous. The energy of life, consciousness, and communications never cease, even after the event that is perceived as death. One creative's own reality. One creates in harmony with one creative force, the great power of God, of which all life is a part. Reality is one chooses to perceive and will change as one grows in knowledge of the inner self and one's relationship with God, of his understanding. All things are possible with faith, insight, knowledge, understanding, acceptance, and love.
There is one more paragraph.
Uh-oh, I don't have it.
That's all right. Love is the unifying energy of the universe.
Doesn't matter.
Love is the energy of the one creative force, the wisdom of God. All life and all mankind are one in the creatorship and healing force of love and with each other. Love is within us and of us. Love is never apart from us. It is we who separate ourselves from the power of love. The force of God works through love and love alone.
Thank you. That was fun to do together.
All right, thanks. Okay, and now we'll have just a few moments of quiet meditation so that we can concentrate on going within to find some peace and calm and healing for ourselves and for the world. So if you want to take a deep breath in and let it out. Another deep breath in and out. Allow the loving, warm light, healing light of the highest come to you and through you. Replacing any fear, negativity, illness, or pain with pure, loving light. Now, before we come back and while we're in this wonderful healing space, please add silently or aloud the names of those you wish to include in this healing light. Okay, take your time and now come back to the present. Please remember that we are always connected to each other and to the divine. Use this peace and calm to take care of yourselves and all those around you in your communities and throughout the world in whatever way that you can. Okay, now we're going to raise our vibration a little bit. Are we all back? Okay. Before we have our speaker, and hopefully this will raise them up.
It's the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It's the light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
And now it's time for inspiration and thought exchange brought to us by today's speaker. We do invite everyone to address this assembly with words of inspiration, lessons learned, or passionate ideas. Any opinions expressed here are strictly those of the person that gives them, and let us consciously and lovingly agree to disagree if it doesn't resonate with us. Now, our speaker today, I continually attempt to mispronounce her name. I, I continually try to call her, let's see, Nicia Artis, very foreign, lovely looking. Yeah, that's not it. We have with us today Nicia Artis. And she has been in public speaking on the subject of world religions and current events since the age of 9. She's been trained by the Jehovah Witness organization along with other contemporary New Thought, ageless wisdom masters of our time. She has been a licensed minister since 99 and gave her first official sermon that same year. To work more fully on her speaking abilities, she became involved with Toastmasters for several years. Nicia is also a master teacher, healer in the following healing modal. Well, let's just say several healing modalities. There's a lot of them. She's known as a full spectrum energy facilitator as well, meaning psychic reader, medium, channeler. She works with angels, ascended masters, ancestors, along with the energy of stones, color, water, sound, elementals, fairies. Um, Her teaching of spiritual knowledge and her other abilities has taken her throughout the US and internationally to Canada and Jamaica. And I'm going to let her give us any other thing that needs to be important that we need to know about you, Nicia, or Reverend Nicia. Welcome. And I give the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me back. When we talked before, we talked about the fifth dimension and didn't know that COVID was going to come in between that. So well, here we go. We're on the roller coaster. I want to start off this morning by saying Happy Father's Day. I don't know how many actual men are on the line, but I want to say Happy Father's Day to those who are fathers, but also to those who have fathered. And just want to say thank you for all that you do. I have the privilege of being able to say that my father is still here in the physical. And I will say that he has been my biggest challenges throughout my lifetime, but also my biggest teacher in that of unconditional love and love altogether. So I just want to give him a little shout out for all that he's done for me. So this morning, when I was sitting with Spirit and wondering what it is that I should talk about this morning, I found it very appropriate to talk about the divine masculine. Now, before all of you women start to kind of space out, thinking that this isn't going to be about anything that you need to really look into, I want you to know it is, because divine masculine is in all of us. We are spiritual beings that are androgynous, truly, and meaning that we are both female and male from an energetic level. And with that being said, we are living at a time where a lot of the divine masculine energy is out of balance, and that includes us. And so this morning, I just want to talk about some of the history of humanity, talk about that divine masculine and what we could do today, bringing it on home to us today, about how we can be aware of ourselves in that divine masculine part of ourselves, and how we can be more balanced between the two of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and bring that out into the world, because that's what we really, really need now. So let's talk about the divine masculine and what it really is. The divine masculine itself, it represents the strength and action side of ourselves. It is the yang to the yin. and it's that side of the universal frame. See, it's the actual consciousness of it, okay? And then the divine masculine, feminine is actually the opposite in that it's the energy, it's a creative life force. So by the two, that's where it all is birthed and created. So in order for us, we're all going through this whole ascension process, and we're elevating to higher octaves of being. So in order for us to truly be a whole, we have to balance the two. You can't see my hands this much, but we have to balance the two. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if we go back in time, and I'm going to do it from a perspective of the astrology ages. So I'm meaning now we talk about being in the age of Aquarius. So I'm going to go back in time in the beginning of humanity where we came through on this earth in the energy of the age of Leo. And so the age of Leo, what is known as the golden ages. And at that time, we were still, humanity, very still connected to our multi-dimensional selves in conjunction to higher octaves of being. So we were straight, we had that straight connection with Creator. But from a human standpoint, our logic abilities and reasoning was very lacking, we'll say. It was very elementary because this was very new to us being in a human body. So then throughout another 2,000 years or so, we went into what was called the age of Cancer. And in that time in humanity, we began to settle down and we built homes and we began to get in more of like agriculture and farming. But we began to really get into the mother and nurturing. And we actually went through that period of honoring the mother. And that kind of went on, and going on further with the age of Gemini, when we really began to get into actual cities, living in cities. We went into talking about trade. And that was meaning trading from one location and people of different places to another. Communication began to be huge. We began to write. It went from the glyphics that we know in Egypt to actually developing a craft of writing. Our rational mind became to be more concrete, and we began to lose more of our connection of higher worlds and our connection because it became being more individualized. And then we come into now, going a little bit further, into what would be known as the age of Taurus. And it was during that age that we actually began to function with really building huge buildings and big structures. And it was at that time where we really kind of changed with our spiritual lives more, because it became more of we not connecting to our knowing of who we are. We began to build more of like what you would remember talking in the Bible in Exodus, the experience there in Exodus 23 through 34, when I was talking about how Moses went up and received the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai. And then when he came down, when the Israelites at that time began to not think he was coming back, they still, because of having the Egyptian experience, felt that they need to worship, but they needed to worship something that they could see and it was tangible to them. And that's when the whole molten calf experience is recorded in the Bible, because that's where humanity was more into, and we were in that age. It went from more of a calf to cows to bulls. And that's when we come into the whole age of Aries. Now, when that occurred, that's when the divine feminine was crushed. It was no more worshiping more of a in the matriarchal world. It was more about patriarchal rulership. It was about war, military. You would see that in artifacts of Egyptian artifact, Rome. We talked about they talk about heroes from what would that be? Moses and Hercules. That's when all of that was occurring, here on the planet. It became a mantra of like eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth type energy that occurred. And so from that, it goes into the age of where we are, and that was the Pisces energy. That's when it was more of Christianity, and it was a switch total, because it was about love and compassion. And so that's how humanity has shifted down through the ages. So where are we at today? What can we talk about today, and how all of that has affected? Because we know that in the age of Aquarius, it's about love and coming together in groups and doing things from the perspective of group energy, and just as really what Reverend Jenny kind of talked about in the beginning of the speakers. It's about coming together and being able to agree to disagree, but still showing love, or finding a piece of what someone has said and how that could help you in your mosaic of life, and being able to go forward. And so today we are living at a time where there's very much an imbalance of masculine energy. And that isn't just males, it's females also. See, we live at a time where people are lightly fused by any type of situations. Let me go through 9 signs that shows a proof of a wounded masculine energy. There are 9 ways of knowing if a masculine energy is imbalanced or wounded. Okay. The number 1 is that you carry a lot of anger. Number 2, you are easily triggered. Number 3, your heart is closed and guarded. Number 4, you allow your ego to run your life. Number 5, you are very impulsive and lack patience. Number 6, you have strong controlling behaviors. Number 7, you feel the need to constantly prove yourself. Number 8, you fear vulnerability and thinks it makes you weak. And number 9, you seek to compete with others instead of collaborate. So wouldn't you say that this is what we're going through today? This is what we are experiencing. So how do we constructively begin to change that? And I'm going to go back to something that we always know, that this journey that we're going through is always an inside job. It's in us. And it's nothing that we can change outside of us. So what we need to do is go in and see what's there for us. What part of us that we might need to love more? What part of us do we maybe need to dig in there and maybe let go of? And then as we can do that for ourselves and be balanced, we can come out to the world and be a voice and shed our bright light like the Care Bear. And we can reflect that beautiful energy of being a balanced, whole human being. So some of you might say, let me say, what is it like to be that? And I'm going to give you from a female, because I don't want to really deal with the female today. I'm dealing with the male. But when I'm saying that by you being whole, could that look like? So by being, I'm going to do the feminine first and then the masculine, and how they could balance off by being a balanced and whole being. So by a feminine energy being balanced, by being able to changing flows of emotion. But on the masculine side of being balanced is having an energy of being cherished and cherishing everything in their lives. A female being balanced would be compassionate, as the male has a decisiveness. The female is connected. It has a connection and nurturing, as the male has a direction and drive. A female understanding, the male is protection. Female vulnerability, male stability. Female warmth, a male support. That right there is a beautiful, beautiful experience. An experience that we all can get to. I'm going to end here, but I'm going to thank you again for coming, letting me come and visit you all. I want you all to really go within, bring out the beauty in the world. The song that kept coming to me is what the world needs now is love. But that love, too, is a balanced love. And remember that we do this all together, and that we do it and it happens. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Nicia. Now I want to open it for comments and questions. Nicia, is that okay with you? If you would take some, okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Reverend Cindy Hudson, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for that talk, because it was so interesting to hear the male perspective. We hear more about the divine feminine because we feel that's been overlooked, but I appreciate you bringing in the fact that we are also divine male energy. So thank you for that balance. And I wondered if you could put in the chat box, you did a beautiful, what the light looks like. And for females, it's nurturing, and for males, it's decisiveness. And I know I'm not quoting that directly. Is there any way you could put those two contrasts in the chat box or anything like that?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for your talk today. I got a lot to think about, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Anybody else? I know there's more comments and questions. Yeah, Reverend Carol, yes.
Thank you, dear. That was awesome. Definitely interesting perspective on the whole viewpoint of humanity. I love that and how we've evolved. Awesome perspective on how that's happening in the world. So thank you. Great job.
Okay. And in the chat box, I just want to make sure that you saw it, Nicia, from Vicky. It's a very good talk, and thank you very much. Does anybody else have a comment they wish to make? Julie Mullins, yes. Unmute yourself. Julie, you're muted, hon. There you go.
Sure.
Just a minute, Samika.
Okay,
I'll give
good.
you in a minute.
Okay, good.
Julie, you're still muted. I'm going to come back to you while you work that out. Samika, why don't you go ahead with your comment?
I'm really glad that you did that. You told us that, because it's some good information to really look at yourself. And my thing is, what it makes me want to do is yoga. because that's the time I can be quiet and that's the time I can walk through everything and not feel weird. But it was just very interesting that you talked about that today. And I thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamika. Okay, Julie, you can go ahead now, hon.
Okay, I came in at the end, but I really needed to hear that. I had difficulty getting things going today. But my question is, if you know someone who is near and dear to you, when you gave those examples of wounded male energy, well, you probably put it better than that. And you tick those off. How can you just pray for that person? There's not a lot you can do, right?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
The only thing we can do and really changes ourselves.
That's what yeah.
It really is. But it's always, you can always have conversation and just have someone be aware. Because sometimes in this world, people, they really don't know. A lot of people are still asleep, and they're just functioning and they're not awakened to what they are really here to do. And so, of course, we always can pray, but we can have conversation for just being aware. But we never want to come from a part of saying, this is you and this is your problem. Oftentimes, what we see and what is mirrored in front of us is things that we need to see in ourselves, what we see in others. So, all of it is just about awareness. So, we just need to, like I said, work on us, go in within us, then come out in the world with that. And sometimes it's an example. I'm going to talk about my father, for example. When I say that he was a challenge for me, he was young, trying to raise a little girl, and he did the best that he could. But sometimes, especially when you get in the teenage years, he was like ready just to harness me down to, like that. Well, that wasn't me. So we did have a lot of those clashes. He was actually my cyclical, example change in life of being able to really learn more about myself. But then also, there's nothing but love there. So it was, there was that friction but it's about learning that, everything is either we're stuck in a fear of something, but then you got to find hopefully the love that was in that. He feared me, being able to be a female, and he was a male knowing how a male thinks, looking at a female. So he did what he did is wanted to just damper all of that down and shut me down. And, I took resentment in that. So, but I really grew to know that was really it was all about love.
Okay, thank you.
I hope I answered your question.
You did.
Thank you.
I'm muted, sorry. Thank you very much for everybody. And there's one last chat that I want to make sure that you see or hear. Nicia, it says, from Byron, appreciated the structure of the presentation. The walk through the ages was awesome, and thank you. So I am going to go ahead and move on from this. Let's see, is it announcements? Time for announcements. Sorry, I lost my place. Okay, announcements quickly. Next Sunday is it's our last live plus Zoom service. Okay. I don't know who the speaker is, but that's okay. It's a surprise. Tomorrow is Development Circle Online at 7 o'clock. Beginning in July, we will be doing all live services. Masks will be optional. There'll be some protocols that we're still doing in order to kind of ease back into our regular kind of service. Oh, and Cindy, thank you, Cindy. The speaker next week is Fran Dittrich. Okay, so and except for the first Sunday, Spirit Message Sundays, first Sundays, which are Spirit Message Sundays. I know this is sounding confusing now. Message services will be recorded, however, and you can find them online. However, you won't be able to, you'll no longer be able to join the service live, but you can find them online to watch later. Then once a month, we will do a Sunday evening Zoom, and that will be on the third Sundays at 7. And by the way, the registration for that, the link for that you can find on the website. It will be different than our regular Sundays. I started a new one. So, okay. All right. I think that is it. Any quick announcements from the floor before we move on? Okay. The recording will now be stopped to preserve the sacredness of those serving and receiving from Spirit. For those of you watching this on video, thank you for your support. And remember that you are always connected to the divine and all of creation.